Evening, folks. Welcome back to Biblical Britain, and it's the 25th of the 10th, 2022. I've got some fantastic code, unbelievable code that just should blow you away. And if you're new to this, believe me, this is only a fraction of what's been decoded and a fraction of the puzzle. And this puzzle is huge, and it absolutely fits together piece by piece perfectly, one sort of piece backing up another. But before I get to the code, I just want to pay a little tribute to my friend Ross Broadstock, who sadly passed away last Sunday night. He was had his own channel called Britain's Hidden History. I met Ross 3 years ago. He actually took the time to come and visit me, and we had a 3-hour sort of meeting, and I threw my code at him. We become friends we were friends ever since, and very often I lean on him. Well, I feel really at this point like I don't know, like a pillar's been pulled away from one side of me. Because he inspired me, and why he inspired me is because through even though he had his program as Britain's Hidden History, and he was right perfectly on it. He followed the work of Wilson and Blackett effectively, but obviously he found his own path as well in that. But even though he didn't take a lot of credit for it, fair play to him. But he was. And for me, it was somebody that I realised at this point, after being, being shook out of bed in a big way from nothing, and then suddenly I dropped into a minefield or into a viper's pit, really, that of deceit and lies that have been, that has been hidden from us. Obviously, Ross did everything academically, but to know that there was somebody else that was actually finding it inspired me that I wasn't on, even because what I was finding at that point, I didn't know, I had nothing, nowhere to turn to or no one to, but I realised that there is actually, not only is there this downloaded proof, of where I get this information from, which is absolutely bizarre because I don't use books, as you know. I just use the maps, and the map tricks or the matrix. But again, it's not about, this is not about what I do. It's about what Ross did, and my heart goes out to his family, Angie and his 2 young boys. His boys are about the same, give or take, around about the same age as my 2 daughters, and the thought of where they are right now and the pain they must be feeling, I can only pray and hope that they find some comfort somehow. But anyway, Ross, I would liken Ross to somebody who took a lamp of truth, took his shoes off and jumped into a pit of academic vipers and started swinging around, really. And his knowledge was immense, and Sundays will never be the same, because that was my highlight. I don't watch many sort of things, and certainly history never really. I never had any interest in it, really. And but Ross made it interesting and funny, and it's a sad loss to the world. But however, I just wanted to mention it before I begin. Okay. On that note, what I will say is one thing that Ross was hot on, and he was absolutely right. And I'm going to dedicate this this next bit to Ross, because it's a code I already had, but it's been sort of highlighted in my head what this is, just to show you what it's all about. Now, Ross used to get his hair off basically about everything being Romanized. The minute the archaeology digs something up, it was Roman. It's always Roman or Saxon, I think, is the later one. But going back to the roots, he was absolutely right that there was no Roman invasion. It's not even everything. History has been absolutely rewritten. And I don't think it was done early. I think it's been started to be changed early, and then later, at some point later on, the well, the Catholic Church, they're the biggest culprit, but Britain has sold the story out basically, and they've gone out of their way to bury Britain's history. But it's all the thing that the root of this and why they're trying to bury it is because they don't want you to know that it's the biblical promised land. But obviously, my experience is, you know, when I'm connecting to whatever is it's not whatever is above. I know who it is. It's Yah. His name is Yahweh, and he is the God of the. I hate to use the word God, but effectively the God of the Siluries, or what we would look at as God. But he's the creator of everything, basically, and I'm about to prove that to you, because what I'm going to show you could not be. Well, there's no way that I would ever work this out without this being put into my head, so it should just be proof of that. It uses my name as well through this. My name will appear many times. This is not an ego trip. It's not something I ever looked for or expected to be doing. And I'm not easily led. But logic. Well, I'm in a situation where my human mind still has this thing that keeps saying, "This can't. How can this be possible?" But then my logical mind keeps, well, just checkmates me. There's no other word for it. I just can't see how well, this cannot be coincidence. It's impossible. I know it deep down, but you know, it's trying to comprehend the enormity of it. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the code. Again, I showed you last week this part of it. The Old Testament mentions a matrix and its code. It's put in. I don't know. I think he just. It's like this matrix is overlaid on what happened before. It's sort of happening again, but in a different way, and that seems to be where we're going with this. But it does say that what has been will be again, and there's nothing new under the sun. It's sort of like, I think it's like an overlay in a matrix. But either way, he wrote. He said, "I spoke it. It will happen." So there is a plan, and the plan is as hard to explain. It's the Tetragrammaton. I will get into that a little bit later on. But first off, let's go with the basics of it. So, right, this is what comes into my head, and suddenly this all starts clicking into place. Right, firstly, there is because this is those that, whether this is what they, you know, the Vatican symbol, I don't know what it's called, Chivo or something, I don't know. But whether they know that it's meant, what it means, again, and they've taken it on to mean something else, which they generally do. But it fits beautiful in there, and this is the crossed AP of the matrix, which gives you map tricks. Okay, because this is the atlas, and the atlas is it's an anagram of A-L-A-S-T. It's a last. Okay, now. It's a last message written, but cleverly encoded in map tricks. Okay, right. What is it hiding? Well, what it's really hiding currently, if you ignore this for the second, and we'll just write in everything, and this is what Ross was saying: is everything is Romanised, and the whole of Britain is, in fact, Romanised land. And what's happening, these map tricks are actually proving that it wasn't Romanised land. What this is the promised land. It's the land of our fathers. This is what there's Welsh always singing about, the land of my fathers, and that's what it is, the land of my fathers. These are the Israelites of the site, or what been changed to the Israelites, I think, or it's either been changed or it's coded in. I'm not too sure at this point, but either way, these people, they obviously know, and they've hidden the whole thing and changed this entire story. Now you're looking at all in the wrong direction. But we're going to put some. Well, my job is to show you these amazing things that just come to me in seconds, and unbelievable things that should never be there, but they are, and I have no doubt that this is my job to show the world that I've obviously showed you a safe zone, not in one code, in numerous codes. There's the Ark, there's the KEY, safe zone. You've got the Canaan, Egypt, Judea. They've got the Cancer constellation, which tells you the safe zone. You've got the Solomon Pillars, tells you the safe zone using the Cancer constellation, and it all fits together. So it's not nothing I'm saying is one thing. And if you're new to this, all you're seeing is a snippet of something much, much bigger. But in its own right, it is fantastic. Okay, I'll just pause you there a second, guys and girls, while I set the next code up. Okay, folks, and just to give you, as you see, I've written hieroglyphics on there. Right, just on the subject with Ross again was onto it. Wilson Blackett, and then Ross obviously took it on further, and he's created a book, and it's called Hieroglyphics. And what it effectively does, unbelievably, it allows you to read Egyptian hieroglyphs using the Welsh language. I'm going to get a copy of this book. I did notice, well, sadly, that one of the last things on that Ross was actually exposing at the time when he, unfortunately, he went sort of, you know, he started getting pain. This is the exact subject that he was talking about. I also noticed that one of the last symbols that he showed, and which tells me I need to get a copy of this book and see what it says, because if you know, the last video I did was about the keel. Well, keel was one of the sort of last symbols I sort of clocked before obviously Ross unfortunately took a turn for the worst. But obviously I'm going to get this book and really start to have a look. I don't normally touch books, but obviously this one's a bit different, because this really does open up, well, the fact that why are you able to read the pyramids in Welsh? Bear in mind that Cornwall has been Welsh many times through history, and I think it was right, Cornwall was originally Egypt, but I think it's sort of like I don't know, it's outside, but there's a Welsh connection, because I don't think pyramids actually relate to Egypt. I think they relate, well, no, I don't think, I know they relate to the Welsh. And Egypt, the Egypt that we know is all a spell. They've changed it, called that place Egypt, and I believe that country is actually Gaza or Giza, biblically. And what they've done is from what I see, and it could well be, I believe, something to do with the Marco-Mannai tribe, the exiled tribe of Joseph, who went down through Europe, which I can follow their trail through code, and the line hits directly on top of the Giza pyramids. The Giza pyramids also are full of code, which identify me as well, but I'll come to all that in a little bit. Firstly, right, okay, my bit, right, on this is crazy, because this whole video seems to stem around Egypt, and when I get code, it seems to come in batches, you know, batches that all relate to the same subject. It seems to be gone back to Egypt. We've gone from the Ark now to Egypt. Incidentally, while I think of it, Carkeel in Cornwall, I said that the parts of the ship were written all over the country, like Hull in Humberside. I think it says I'm Hidji Roos or something is Humberside, and then you've got the Hull, obviously. Then you've got the crew in Cheshire. You've got the place with the stern. I can't remember the name of that, but up north. Then you've got Carkeel. It's like you had to use all these clues. Oh, Salisbury is the sail by Roos, and then you obviously draw the sail goes on exactly by Roos when you draw it. But right, I said this was the arc keel. Well, it is the arc keel, because obviously it's the Argus Navis, but it's also, so obviously, the car keel, because the base of that ship is actually the M4 motorway, obviously where cars go. So it is as well a car keel, just to add that little bit of credence to it. I'm not sure how this went, but the motorway runs, and this would be the M4. So the bottom of the ship is in fact a car keel and an arc keel, it's both. But again, if you want to see the full video on that, if you haven't watched it, it's truly amazing how this ship, well, and it certainly sends a message for the end times with all the code written into the constellation that makes it up. Right, okay, so right, we're on to Egypt. Okay, so like I say, if you know, in this book, if you buy this book as well, and you know, I'm not telling anyone they need to buy it, but hieroglyphics.com, I think it's called, and you can go on there, and obviously all this money, the money would help Ross and his family, I mean, you don't feel obliged to, but it's there if you need it. If you're interested in hieroglyphs, this is honestly, it opens up a whole new ball game. But the question is, why can you read them in Welsh? Well, the answer is simple, because it comes from Cornwall. Okay, right. Firstly, let's get into this. Who are the right? What is this? Right. My question is the Pharaohs. Okay, in a previous video, which becomes apparent in this code. In previous videos, I've mentioned that the Pharaohs are called a Pharaoh. Right, the real Pharaohs are basically blonde-headed cornrows. So what you effectively got, and this is not to say that these you know, the Cornish at this point in time could it be black, white? I don't honestly know, and it doesn't matter to the overall picture. What colour our skin is irrelevant. It's what's inside of you that matters. But what you've got, if you've seen them, they're cornrows. So you basically have cornrows. Well, if you when these are dyed blonde, so you've got Pharaohs. Okay. Right, the Pharaohs, I already worked out that the Pharaohs, and the reason these are cornrows is they're Cornwalls. So there's the first big and opening clue of obviously of decoding the Pharaohs. But what they were, they're not Pharaohs, but this is probably why they were wearing all these massive headdress things and what have you. But either way, they're Pharaohs and they're Cornwall. So they're the Pharaohs of Cornwall. That's effectively what it is. So Pharaoh of Cornwall, written in Ram's head on King Sand, is Ramses' head, effectively. That's where. But there's a whole lot more to it than this. But the Pharaohs of Cornwall. So Cornwall is biblical Egypt, and I could tell you that without a shadow of a doubt. I'm about to show you more codes, even written into the Bible, into a Bible code that confirms this. Okay, right. The Pharaohs of the Cornwalls. Right. Now, what if? And my question, and I thought this over and over, and then it suddenly comes to me the answer. And you can probably see something already. But what if they were bald? So if they were like me, and I was obviously the Pharaoh, you know, I became the Pharaoh of Egypt, but obviously not everyone naturally, we don't know what hair we're going to get, so how are we going to have fair cornrows? Well, the answer to this is written in this, and this is, right, these places, Wigan, Worcester, Devizes and Beachley Hair, make this symbol. Now this symbol is very important, and I will show you where this connects to ancient times. Right, firstly, let's decode the message. So the message is, so what if they're bald? Right, so the first thing you have to know is Clanfair Discoid, which is right next to Llanmelian, which is where you find the start of all these codes. And in Welsh, it is Llanfair Discoid. Well, when you unscrabble that, it says Clanfair, right, and then this part says his code. I'll leave that off a second, because when you join a line up from Carrow Hill, which is also another symbol, I'll show you in a second, that is actually in the same place as this, written in ancient times. So when it comes to pass, you'll know that I did it, and there is no, I'm your God and your Saviour, there is no other. Okay, right. Worcester is Rose Secret. Now I'll show you how those two connect in a second. And then what you have is code. All I do is anagram these. Obviously you can see it's clan. And where this is clan, these are the churches that have been put, this is the word that's been changed to hide the clans, and obviously put churches on the land. And there is no church, I don't think. There might be in Llanfair actually. But either way, Llanfair Road Secret is code, right? Is code. So we just switch the D and the E, and all these codes in Wales are codes. I haven't worked them all out yet, but I've got a lot of it. There's a lot I have worked out. They all lead to the most spectacular decode ever, right? Llanfair Road Secret is code. Okay, so right, let's take out the is code a minute. And how this comes about is this represents a place called Carrow Hill. All we do is separate the sea and we have Sea Arrow Hill. Right, what this does, this makes a bow that initially points to a place called Mablethorpe, Amel be the rope, without getting into it. But what you have, it effectively identifies the hill fork with the H that comes to the H, which is the Mellin fork, Clan Mellin H. This is where you get the G and the H from. Again, without going into this too deeply, I'll be here all day. But Clan Pharaohs secret. Okay, so Sea Arrow Hill. So the first symbol, which I will show you, which is on the Seal of Solomon, that I've already decoded, along with this symbol here. I'll show you that once I've sort of unscrabbled it. But the first thing you got is Clan Pharaohs secret. Okay, so what is the Clan Pharaohs secret? It is bleach wig stroke head. So effectively, if you were, as ridiculous as this sounds, if you were bald, then you became the pharaoh. Obviously, you know, even on the hieroglyph, you see a lot of them, and they clearly wearing wigs. I also noted that a lot of the men are bald. So whether that was something to, well, I don't know how that came about, but anyway, without jumping into it. But you got this message says, so far we've got Clan Pharaoh, so Clan Pharaohs secret. And ye be and ye bleach head, wig stroke head. Okay, and then the last one, devises, which makes up this point here, is incredibly see vids. In other words, what this is saying, again, this is preempting everything I've done already, just to show you that I'm not just finding this stuff. This stuff is just coming to me through code, and I'm seeing it, and all of a sudden it just clicks together. But it's not my doing, it's not my work, and how I do it, I don't even know. I'm not experiencing code, or I'm not academically intelligent. In fact, I'm a pretty average intelligent guy working as a security guard. I've had a business, but obviously I sold that, and one thing and another to do this. But as you can see, this is one of the Clan Pharaohs secrets is code. The biggest code is not there's a bigger code than this, but I've done that in other things, because there's a pyramid as well, and this all connects Wales pyramids and, well, and Solomon, all of it together. Right. I'll just pause for a second while I show you the pictures now that relate to this, so you can see how clever this is. Right then, folks, as you can see, you've got the Seal of Solomon. This is actually taken off the side of a Masonic building. I'm going to have to do some little freehand, so bear with me so you can see. Right, the first thing that you have to see, or what we'll see, I've decoded all of this, but it's C-M-E-L-I-N. So this is Mellin. This relates to Fort Clan Mellin. But the symbol I want to show you, firstly is this one, which is your H with the arrow, and secondly, where is it? And then I don't know if you can see this. I hope so, but let's see if I can bring that round a bit. I don't know if you can see it, but you've got the line down there with the tick. It's like a giant tick, and you've got an X that cuts across the line. Okay, so let's go to Google Maps. Okay, so here we have it. That's Wigan. Comes down straight through Worcester. There's lines crossed because I've had to make this X. I can't break the line basically, so I've got to go back and forth. But the straight line comes through the centre of Worcester, and amazingly on the river, the River Severn as well. I didn't realise that was the River Severn. Well, the River Severn is CNRV, all connects to the Sabbath River. Okay, So this all connects to the Sabbath, which is not the River Nile, it's actually the River Line. It was always meant to be, and that's why 7 Estuary also says, say never true. Okay, when you come down here, this is Devizes in Wiltshire. Ooh, let's get rid of that. There's Devizes. So you've got your line that runs directly from, let's just hope you can still see this. There's Wigan. So it goes from Wigan straight through Worcester. X marks the spot because this actually ties. I don't think I can do it now, but if I go to, where are you, Carrow. Sorry folks, I'm just hoping you can see this. There's your keel as well of your ship. Totally irrelevant at this one, but AWEN, there we are. This, right, this is your H with your arrow. This is your Sea Arrow Hill. And if I, is that going, is that kicking through there? Much Markle. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, facts. Oh dear. Well, literally, right, let me just unclick that a second. But if I click that, this goes through Llanfair. There's your Llanfair Discoid, which is in Welsh, it's Llanfair Iscoid with an F. Obviously, they've changed it. They like to hide these things. And can you see? There we go. There's Llanfair Discoid. This D was only added in, I don't know when it was, but either way. So we've got your Sea Arrow Hill. This is your C and your H. If I draw the actual bow, this bow, right? Let's just do it. There's Grey Hill, Stone Circle, back to Carrow Hill, back to Kyle Went, back to, oh, you toad. Right, if I fire this arrow off from here, this actually goes off and identifies the place of the Pleiades, which is Please ID. I won't do it now, but it heads to Mablethorpe, and this is Orion's bow. That's what this amounts to. But it's obviously fires in a different direction, goes through Llanfair Discoid. This actually moves around to Park Seymour, Llanfair Discoid, to G-Roos, to Carrow Hill, and then this line goes up. I'm just hoping I'm keeping this still enough for you to see, and hits Worcester. So the arrow fires effectively, it's and lands in, well it does, it lands central in Worcester basically, and this is why you've got the cross in there. I know it looks a bit jumbled up, but I can square it up. It's just difficult to do because I've got to keep this all in one line, as you can see. Right, this is an absolute mess of a, right, obviously, but you can see basically the same, this code. And then when you go on the Seal and Mail Keys deck, there is your, this is your tick, this is your arrow and your H. So this is your Sea Arrow Hill. Right, I'm going to show you what this one means as well, and what this one means, and what this one means as well. Okay, so we've got I've been given these. This one, this one, this one, and this one just connects with this one. Also, you've got your sea melon, but you'll have to go for the Torah code and the Seal and Mail Keys deck, I think I've called it on a video just to see the decode with this. But it's fantastic. You've also got the G and the H. There's your lock, Jerusalem, picture of the lock on the temple, and the H is the key, is Lan Melin is the H is the key. Okay, right, just to hold you there a second, guys and girls. Okay, folks, just a second symbol, and my symbol isn't as good as actually, or as clear as the one that I've just showed you. But you've got this symbol, and this one is simply R and a joined V. So what is the RV? Well, the RV is, because I've seen the RV, so and it equals the 7. This is the River Severn. That's what this is symbolising, and this whole thing is to show you that Melin, the Fort Sea Melin, is on the River Severn. It's also seen RV. Again, this is the rendezvous point. It's also my caravan, ironically, and the rendezvous point for the end times. But all you've got is an R there, and this is a very bad V, and it's just joined in the middle. If you take this away, it's pretty obvious what it is. And that's what it says, RV. So that one's pretty simple, and I broke that one. But it all looks, obviously it's been hidden in and obviously not to be found and not for anyone to understand, I suppose, until now. But just to be able to prove all this wrong. Okay, the RV as well. The River Nile was never the River Nile. It's always been the river line. The line of his rule. Or Siluri H. It's what divides Cornwall. It's effectively what divides. It's effectively the River Severn and Severn Estuary, just so you know as well, which miraculously tells you. See never. Say never true. I'll address this, but I'll work that one out. Okay, it says never true. Okay, so the line, so basically it says never true. Says never true. So the Severn Estuary says never true. It was never the Nile, it was always the river line, and it was the line between Yah on one side and, funny enough, Ra on the other side. Cornwall being Egypt, and obviously the line that divided his rule. And his rule was the Sabbath, and that's why it's the say never true as well, because the River Severn was formerly the Sab, where you took a bath on a Saturday, which says at roost day. And when I say it says, this means it anagrams to at roost day. So you took your Sab bath at roost day. So your Sabbath at roost day in the place of the sea, well, the same place as the sea RV, which is your 7, and this is why you have the number 7. So thing, well, yeah, it keeps pointing it out in the Gold Testament. Okay, so just a quick thing there. Also notable is with, I just point this quickly out as well. It's not part of my plan of what I was going to do, but if you look at the Holy Head of Wales, that's an awful drawing, but effectively you've got this face, which I'll come to because this becomes important. This is, well, it's a very bad version of Holy Head, the angle of Anglesey, but I'll come to that because that's part of another code. This is a light shining down, and this is the point of this is Exeter, so it's highlighting the exit, which I'll show you as well, written in the Bible code now, and Swindon. And I'll explain that as well because this is coded also. Right, so the Holy Head. But if you look at Egypt, what you generally have is this is a head, but they put the serpent, the venomous. Oh, my drawing is atrocious, as you can tell. They put these lines on as well. Pharaohs, maybe that's because they're bald. Could also be to do with it. But what you have is this headdress with this snake. Well, that's where they got this. Is an awful picture of Holy Head, and I probably butchered it, but as you get the picture. So this is Yah's version, and this is Ra's version. This all, yeah, I won't get into that. Right, okay. But either way, this is the opening light, and this is your Canaan, Egypt, and Judea, which is your KEY, which is your key, which was my opening key to the map. And I've got more to come on that. But anyway, just to show you how these two link, and you get Cornwall and Egypt, both either sides of the river line, or Nile, as it's called. Nile is line, and it divides the land of his rule, and I guess the land of the naughty tribe, the Egyptians, the rebellious ones. Okay, I'll just hold you there. Okay, folks, this is the next. Well, there's two symbols. This one sits underneath the H with the crown, but this is all to do with the Tau roost, or the Tau. But without getting into that, you'll just have to go back and look at the other videos. But what does this symbol mean? Well, I sort of asked the question because I know it obviously relates to a star. But what star? Well, the first thing you've got to know is it's lifted up, and it's, in actual fact, even though this is a 5-pointed star, not a pentagram, obviously aiming downwards, it's not an evil symbol, but it's got it's what it's got is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. So effectively, it's a star made up of nine. Well, right, okay, the 9th tribe. So it's a 9-pointed star. So the 9th tribe, lost tribe of his rule, are the Siluri. Okay, so we know it relates to a Siluri. Okay, right, amazingly, when I put the constellation of Cancer onto the star map, which comes up from the 2 pillars of Solomon's temple. Again, you'll have to go back because it'll be all weak otherwise. And then you put the full moon behind. You've got the sun of the moon sign. The sun of the moon sign in Cancer. You've got 7 stars, which is the Pleiades, which is Please ID as well. Just to show you how this all connects, that's the Pleiades, just unscrabbled. You've got the sun of the moon sign in Cancer, which is me. Without going into it, but this one side is a star map, a ball with a star map. The other side is a picture of the Earth. So it's the sun of the moon sign in Cancer. Use the star map and the Earth to create the temple at Mon, template at Mon. The template is Cancer, basically. The constellation Cancer fits over the Earth. This is Holy Head, Judea, which is also YH, which is literally Y phonetically, and H, which is Yah, which is YHWH, which is the tetragrammaton, which is the thing I connect to. Right, now it's this is the star that it's talking about. So this star is actually called, and this is on Jerusalem, where the Siluri live. So this is what is now known as Venta Silurum, which is the point in the Combined Nations safe code as well. Again, I'm going to try to not make this complicated. I know it is though. But effectively, what the star is if I do it on the Cancer star map, the star on G-Roofs, where the Siluris lived. So we know we're looking for a Siluri because it's a 9-pointed. I'll just double up there, 9-pointed, and it's a star. It's a Celis Australis. Okay, well this says a Silu star. Okay, so this says well effectively it says sell us a Celis, oh sorry, a Celis, is it a Celis? I don't even know if this matters, but this links to Cornwall anyway, because there's a pyramid in Cornwall, and it's the, let's do it in full, St. Austell pyramid. It's not an ancient pyramid, I don't think, but it's clearly a pyramid. If you type in on Google, you'll find it. And what this says is, attains Celis. The reason there's 2 Celis, so this is your Celis, so a Celis, a Silu star. But you also have the second one. There's one there, the second star there, and these relate to the forts. This is the G fort, G Roos. This is Melin H. This is the lock. This is the key. This is Holy Head, Exeter, Swindon. This gives you a message in itself. I'll come to that. But what you have here is attain Celis, your map pyramid is your map ID. Well, my retainer Celis map ID, because this is a Celis borealis, a Celis bow is real, being in the bow that shoots off, as I said, to the Pleiades. Like I say, this all ties in. But effectively, what this is a 9-point star. It's the 9th tribe is Simeon. It is also me in Sion. because Wales is Sion effectively. It's also a Cylon, but I won't get into all that because it'll just confuse it. But what that symbol effectively means, and what it highlights is like I say, this is your Carrow Hill. This is the H and the arrow represents both of these. This arrow that fires off here connects this. Then this star then connects Jerusalem. Okay. Also worth noting that Cancer the Crab also says see crane be arc. Well, the constellation Jerus is the crane. So as well as your Celissus IU star, this is Cancer. There's your two forts. This one is named after Jerus the crane, and that's why it's called Jerusalem. And it's a mixture. Jerus, obviously the Silu lived in this one first, then they moved to this one. The Romans didn't build it. It was built by Cranach, King David. But all they've done is they've taken the Mel of Melin and just reversed it. Added a Jerus. So that's how Jerusalem also gets its name, and that is again encoded as well with my family name. Without getting into that, it's on the last video, but as you can see, nothing doesn't connect. Bear me 2 seconds, folks. Okay, folks, just so we can be clear that this is biblically, this is biblical, and everything I'm telling you is correct. Unbelievably, in the first 4 books, which would make up the Torah, and think places like Tor Point, a Torah Point, Tor Bay is to do with, I think that's where Noah's Ark was built, but the original, but anyway, without getting into that, and the Torah Key, but right, when you unscrabble this, unbelievably, this says you've seen exit, and there's more to this because this leads to other things, and I will explain these individual parts now. But it says anagrams completely down to you've seen exit, which is the exit, which is Exeter, comb 7. And miraculously on the 7 is Ilfracombe, which says Marco be life. This also connects then upward to Oxwich, goes through Oxwich Bay and up to Bull Bay, which is be a bull, Oxwich, which is to do with the 4-faced angel. So that connects as well without getting into it. But there's a video that tells you about the 4-faced angel and Ezekiel's vision. Okay, but in effect, just to show you that this is all very, very based on where everything I'm telling you and where I live, and that this has nothing to do with the Middle East at all. This is, well, just proof of the pudding. You've seen exit, code 7, UID SIU G. Right, well, I'll explain this one by one in the best way I can. Right, the first 3 coordinates of my big map that make up Solomon's the first Solomon's or well, half actually. Right, what you've got on my map is you've got the full thing of the Solomon. Okay, this is St. David's. So this is a code, right? These codes, sorry, St. David. This is St. David. Used to use the full word. Holy Head. This is Bognor Regis. I'm going to show you how all this ties together now. Right, these are not, right, this is where it gets complicated, and I've messed this up. This should be tilted, but what you've got is effectively, where does it go? It goes from there. You've got a fishtail. You're looking at this from a different angle. I forget how, that way. Right, if you've seen my map, this will make a bit more sense, but I showed it on the Leviathan video. But effectively, all I'm trying to do is give you this 6 points on this triangle. That one's Sheffield. This one is Swindon. twin, right, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the other one? Oh yeah, sorry. And then one of the most important ones is Exeter. Okay, right. These are the points that these help. This is what constructs it, the whole thing. I'll explain this bit. This is Ipswich, and this is Cromer. But I'll come to that. Right, just to break it down. Okay, so the first thing you see exit. Well, the opening, as I said, I showed you the picture with the opening. This is Holyhead, and that goes off the sort of lamp bit at the front. That's what it is. The lamp shines the light. This is the opening triangle. This tells you this is Canaan, Egypt, and Judea. Like I explained, the Y and the H explains the tetragrammaton and the Holyhead. But what you've got, the first three coordinates are Exeter, Swindon, and Holyhead. Right. What this basically, these first three, this opening triangle, because I haven't completed, you've got somewhere in there you've got the Eye of Horus, which makes this effectively into a pyramid, and the corner is well, I'll explain that again as well. We've got to come to that. Right. But effectively, what you've got is half a pyramid, and it's incomplete at this point because I've only just opened this up with the KEY. Right. Exeter, Swindon, Holyhead says. Holy H, tie in with this. Scene exit. Bear with me. Holy H, scene exit. Yep. And it says add wonder. So basically, at this point, I'd only completed half of it. And what I had to do is obviously follow this line across. This hits directly on. If I follow this line directly across, and it's Cromer, and this one directly down, it's Ipswich. There's a reason for that because this tells a story in itself. But for now, it just says Holy H, scene exit, add wonder. But by completing this triangle and following these lines down, what I did is complete the pyramid. This is the eye of Leviathan as well. It doubles up as Leviathan's eye, but it's also the Eye of Horus, and it fits on. That's Brecon. The pupil of the eye is at Brecon, and the pupil is the one that is B Recon. Okay, so B Recon. So it's also, see, this is all tied up. It says you've seen exit. Okay, well I see the exit by using this because I know that Moses followed, up to Mount Sinai, and he followed a B Recon beacon, a Brecon beacon. Obviously, must have been some pillar of light that he came out of Egypt, Cornwall, went round Canaan, and up onto Pen of An. I'm pretty confident to say it's Pen of An, where all this really happened, all this biblical, the whole biblical thing. And it took him 40 days and 40 nights, not 40 years as well, incidentally, but that's another story. Okay, excellent, Swindon, Holyhead. So Holyhead, scene exit, add wonder. So all I've done at this point with those three coordinates, so I've added the wonder by completing this pyramid. Okay, because this is a multi-symbolized thing. It's more than one symbol in this, which makes it hard to explain. It becomes a tribe tent, Leviathan, the Christian fishtail following Leviathan's head, sadly. Right, okay, so let's just move on to... So this code links UC exit code 7 UID SIU G. I'll explain that bit now. Okay. Right, bear with me. Right, okay, folks, I need to go back now in time a little bit, and what you'll find is I did an Archangel code. Right. To explain this, because I actually found something else. As you can see, I've left the Y blank on this one, whereas before I was putting Yahweh, but I did think it was a bit strange that Yahweh would be sat in the middle of his angel sort of thing, although obviously this is what led me to realise, and now I realise what the missing word is. Okay, so the first thing you've got to know how all this happened and how I decoded it. Kaya went, the place that is Jerusalem, that I encode. So the basic uncode, my initial uncode, it's called Venta Silurum, but I realised that Silurum is Rusillum. Obviously then, if I go through the Solomon's code, which is a wise code. Oh, I wasn't planning to do all this, but this is Wales, Ireland, I just need to do it, Scotland, and England. Okay, so when you're wise, you know where the kingdoms are. This is the kingdom, this is the basic kingdom of Solomon, written in the word wise. He was the wisest king. Okay, it's the wisdom of Solomon. So the first thing you've got is the seal. So the seal of Solomon is effectively, well, it's the seal put onto Wales, basically. Okay, now the other secret code written into this is written here. And it says RECONG. So it says Recon G. How I got to this, I still can't, I don't remember now, but one thing and another, I don't know how I was led to it, but it's basically it's the constellation of G Rus. Now, G Rus the crane, and if you think this is made up, check out I think it's the Torah code that takes you to the map of Guyana, where there's a completely encoded copy of the constellation G Rus written into the land with the most unbelievable message in it that you could imagine, and clearly identifying the fort and the secret that Yah hid in it. But without getting into that, so this is how I got to Jerusalem. So initially, well, I actually thought it was called Jerusalem. I thought that was it. It's not. Illumination is a star as well. So to illumine Jerusalem, just look at Jerusalem. Obviously, I realised a lot of things afterwards once I've already broken the code. But written in this code, Jerusalem, you've got archangels. You've got Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, and Michael. The only thing that's missing is the Silu. Okay, right. To get the Silu, you need to go to the land of Gymru. Okay, Gymru is for anyone who doesn't know, is another name for Wales. Well, it's the real name for Wales, that they turned it into something else and tried to softly and surely move away from the G, put a C in it, and now people call it Cymru. But when you actually come into Wales, it says welcome to Gymru, or Crossio Gymru, which is welcome to Wales and Gymru. Okay, so the Holy Land is code. This is a code for the Holy Land. This is a code for the Holy City. So written into it in this code is Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, and Uriel. The only missing, I did this code ages ago. Oh, the Recon G as well. It's just to find the G to add to the Rusilum, and then eventually you get G Rus Lem. But like I say, you'll have to follow the videos to find out how we got to that. But that's pretty much the line of how we did it. Okay, so what I didn't realise, and as I've been saying, I don't get it. I don't know why, but going by the code and the code alone, and I can only go by it. And for the life of me, like I said, my human side says one thing, is saying this can't be right, or can't be possible, but I can't. I am absolutely checkmate to know it has to be, because it's too big and vast, the code, and how I get these things, I don't know. But either way, this is you. This is me. Right, okay, so just to top it off, to know that the Silu is, not only is it, this says Mr. Guy. So the Silu is you, Mr. Guy. So the code, it says you've seen exit, Cookcomb 7, UID G Silu. Well, it's the Jerusalem, the G Silu. It's also, as weirdly as it is, the square and compass that the Masons use is also coded. I'm not even sure they know what this means. But what you have is this effectively. Well, the compass makes an arc, and this makes an angle. Well, when all you do is switch these two round, and it's an Archangel G. Again, this is another code saying that I'm an archangel, or was an archangel, and it's written in many places. The code in Sacramento, for example, well, if you take the full code of Sacramento and the four points of the 3 points that make up the top triangle of the scythe, Never mind Sacramento is the first point. Los Angeles is the next one. And Las Vegas Pyramid is the third coordinate to make up the three. Well, when you work out the full code in Sacramento, it's O Sacrament and Saint Marco. But when you unscramble it all, it says Marco sent to SOS me a remnant. But then what you do is you drop my name, Marco Guy, into Los Angeles, and it says loses my Archangel, you go. And then Las Vegas Pyramid is salvage your map IDs. So the entire message there, again, I'm only telling you what's there because like I said, I've no memory of anything before this life. But when you sum it all up, it clearly, yeah, I don't even, well, like I said, I'm at a loss to explain it, why it comes up in code time and time again, and how I'm even able to encode this stuff in seconds. But there you go, that's it. But there's your, so Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. You've seen exit, well, that's showing you the Holy H, seen exit and add wonder. So that's the completion of the pyramid on the map. And I'll show you then the Solomon seal part on the other three coordinates and the tail. But Holy H, seen exit, add wonder. Cone 7, even Ilfcrum says Mark will be live, seen RV. 7 is seen RV. You've got Noah's Ark on one side, seen RV, and then the Argus Navis is a G-Roos van. The Argus Navis being the ship that I decoded, or the Ark. But there we go. Like I say, I know this is complex, but if you look at it into it completely, it is impossible that anybody but the Most High and the one central, the am of everything. He says to Moses to tell the Sinuris, I am and I am sent you. And he says I am because there is no words to describe what he is. He is everything. I am everything, and he literally is. And he's timeless, and he's almighty, and there's no way that he's not real. And I know he's real. And he left all this code, including a safe zone, for the end times. But this is all to prove that he is real, that he did leave all this code, and there he is, and done it, and he's doing it through somebody, well, who has no recollection of a past life, for one, but obviously clearly I must have had one, and I was sent to do this. I didn't fall, that's good as well, sent to Marco. Right, okay, so let's go. Okay, let's complete the wonder. So we've got the initial triangle there. Then what we do, actually this isn't right, this is where it gets complicated, because this is when you do this, it sits at this type of angle, which is why you get the Leviathan looking so mean and nasty that I drew without even realise I was drawing it. Okay, so it looks something like this, the actual thing. And then what you have here, no, it can't be on them, it must be on them. This is absolutely all over the place, but it looks roughly like this. This way is the shark with the Christian fishtail, right? But there's a story written in this tail. So when I follow this line across, I follow. This would be Holy Head, actually. Oh, I don't know. Just need to twist around, but this would be Holy Head. This is Sheffield. This would be Bognor now. Okay, there is your Swindon. There is your Exeter, and there's your Holy Head code. Oh, I don't know. My head's fried with this, but either way, let's just do the code in it. The Bognor region. I'll come to these. Sorry, St. David's. That's what that is. Sorry. No, it isn't. It is Holy Head, and that's St. David's. Sorry, folks. Bear with me. This is so difficult to do. Right, okay, but let's just concentrate on these. So this is actually, whichever way round this goes to Cromer. This is in Norfolk. This line here goes to Ipswich. Okay, now this is where it gets incredible. Right, recorded, and I can't show you, but if you put Kaya Went even into Google, you will see it relates to the Iceni. Because going back, Kaya Went is 2 words. And it's usually in capital. If you put it in capital, you'll pull it up. But you'll see it connects to the Iceni. I've got it on the map. I don't want to show you on here because I don't want the channel removed in case I ever need it at this point. But I can assure you I have no reason to lie. But Norfolk was Coent. Okay, now Ipswich is a code in itself. It says I switch P, basically. That's what it says, I switch P. And when I switch P, I get IB switch. Okay, so what it's telling you is Coent has been switched. And at the time of this being labelled Coent on this map I've got, Norfolk, there's no actual name on where I live, basically, isn't, well, ironically, number 10. So whoever done it knows that there's 10 tribes there, and maybe that's what it's all about. But either way, it's not labelled. Okay, but, right, Chroma is, this tells you who done it. Roman Catholic Rome. That's what that means. So, IB switch, Roman Catholic Rome. In other words, they moved Coent from Norfolk, obviously hidden the fact it's Jerusalem, called it Venta Silurum as well, and then it's arrived and been Coent at a place where the K went, the G went, because it's in Gwent. So you got the so you got K went, G went, and then it becomes the kingdom of Solomon, or only Mon, or just Mon, whatever you want to call it. It's the ancient kingdom of Monmouth, which is now Monmouthshire. This is how it becomes Solomon's kingdom, or part of the code of Solomon's kingdom. So that explains the tail of the fishtail. But this fish is effectively, this Christian fishtail, and what it represents is it's following Leviathan, blindly following Leviathan's head. And Leviathan is built into a pyramid as well, because the pyramid is the worship of Egypt and Horus. Sorry folks, but, well, I don't hate to say it, but Jesus is Horus, and they've deceived you into worshipping Amen-Ra. In God we trust on the American dollar, the same God and the same, well, it's just a snake reskinning itself, and instead of being Horus and Amen-Ra, they've now changed it, put it on, never mind created a New Testament, but they basically got you all worshipping Amen-Ra and Horus Jesus. Right, okay, I'm just going to pause you a second. Okay, folks, so the other three coordinates now that make up the Seal of Solomon are St. David, Sheffield, and Bognor Regis. Okay, now when you unscrabble this, again, it's all anagrams. It says, an if seer led, signs GH, well, the G is Jerusalem, the H is Lammelin, the Mel H, which is in Melchizedek, C Mel, C HID, which is your H identification for your secret H-man written in Manchester, and obviously the Spear of Destiny that comes down onto Clanmelin. Even next to Clanmelin is Dinham, which is IDH man, but it says Beaufort. This is to do with that bow I showed you, which goes from the standing stone circle on Grey Hill to Clanmelin to G Roos to Carrow Hill, fires off and identifies the Pleiades. This is your H arrow symbol that I showed you. That's the bow that fires it. So the Beaufort, which is, well, this is made up of two forts and a standing circle, but this is the main Beaufort, and this is actually the key fort as well. So, right, and if seer led, signs GH, Beaufort is ADVID. Well, that's David, D-A-V-I-D. So the code in David, King David or whatever, which is probably why the H is wearing the crown, is ADVID. That is the code in it. And then you add it to Clanmelvin or Melin, Clanmelin, change that to a C. That you do that via the that star I showed you with the letter C overlays it, and running down it says Clanmelvin. Well, it's a hill fort, so obviously that's why it says Beaufort is ADVID. So it clearly is. And right, then when you take Jerusalem and you reverse Jerusalem, you get G, Rus, A, Lem. Well, when you read it backwards and fill in the missing bit, it says Melvin, age, surname, G, which is Guy. Take Vin and name, switch it down, it's a vine man. Jesus is not the vine. I don't know how, but I am. And the vine is the Siluri, and the Mel is actually the elm. And when he says he uproots the tree and replants it, he replanted an elm tree, and the vine regrowing is the Siluri. And I'm the one that I guess is well, I must be the vine man. And what this is as well, if you read Taurus, it says, see Guyana map and Mel that hid in. Well, the place Beryl, which makes up part of the constellation map, just above it is Marco. So Marco be Mel, because my name in Welsh is Marco ap Melvin, a surname Guy. My father's name was Melvin Guy. That's why I'm ap Marco. Ap is son of. Marco ap Melvin Guy is my name. My father's name is Melvin ap Melvin Guy, because my grandfather's name was also, and he's where the tree must have been replanted, you know, where the tree must have been replanted, because his name was Melvin Guy as well. Melvin ap Robert, I think, or something along those lines. But he's ultimately it's the start of the regrowth of the Mel tree or the elm tree. Okay, just hold you there a second, folks. Okay, this I wasn't going to do, but I just as well do it while I'm at it. Okay, again, if you want to see the decoding of the tribe of Joseph, Joseph is actually the tribe of yourself. This is written, there's one of the codes, it's to do with the octagram. The octagram code gives you something, I'm G, Marco G, Taurus L. Well, Taurus L is the L that drops into Taurus, Joseph being the tribe. It's not Joseph either. The Roman J is the deception. This is the nonsense. This is Roman. This has been added later. But even the Jews will call it, but they will always say, apart from the word Jew, which is weird, because they must realise that that's been put there as well. It can't be Jew. It's Jews, not Jews. And they're not from the Middle East. They're from here. Written in the river Y. U is Y. But either way, it's the tribe of yourself. So again, the lost tribe of Joseph, I've already worked out, I have to look back on it, it's the Marco Manoi. The lost tribe of Joseph is the Marco Manoi tribe, but obviously you got Marco Manoi, and this is Advi, ID, and then when you do it the tribe of Joseph, because what he says is one comes from the line of David, or the line of ID, of Advi is the line of the Mels or the Lems. You've got they lived at Melin, so they're a line of Melin, the Melin line or the Mel, and then you add VID, and then you got he says, and the son of Joseph. Well, even this in itself doesn't make any sense, because you can't. How could you be the son of Joseph? But what it is, it's actually the son of yourself. Well, Melvin or Marco at Melvin is the son of Melvin Guy, and this is the son of yourself, and obviously this is the code. So David Joseph is add VID yourself. All there, and not impossible to make all this up. I'm quite well. If I can't convince you by now that this is all very real, I'm lost. I don't know where to go with it. But okay, going back to the original map again. Effectively, this is what you've got. I'm sorry if I sound a bit stressy, guys and girls, but I feel the time's running out, and I really need to get this message out there. This is what the overall map roughly looks like. It's like tilted this way. Each point. Oh, by the way, this when you follow it off, this also makes a tent, a tribe tent, and these are actually, ironically, guide ropes. Funnily enough, that's why they're called guide ropes. Okay, because they're the guide ropes that pull up the tribe tent. Okay, so what I'm going to do is effectively these are when this becomes a tent, this becomes a flap, that becomes a flap, that becomes a flap. All the 10 tribes are labelled across all over this as well, but that's another story. It ties with something else. Right, what we're concentrating on is the pyramid, effectively, for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, just to make it a bit clearer, all the things, and all I'm going to leave is this pyramid in the middle. So what we've got is a pyramid over Wales, funnily enough. It's slightly offset, but obviously, I mean, well, there's a line there actually, so this would be the central line of the pyramid. Okay, I'm actually going to, I'll remove this for now, just to, again, just to make it a little clearer so it doesn't get complicated. What you've got here, this hits Tor Point. And this is on the Tamar River. Call it, it's the Tamar, but this is what it basically is, the Tamar River. This is the point of the crossing. It wasn't a sea at all, it wasn't 40 nights. And there's a place there called Adder's Water, I think, with Adder's Water or something, but what it says is Add Red Water. And what he's saying is it's not a sea they crossed, it was a crossing on the river at Tor Point. And then coming out of Egypt, this is where it happened, but it's also a Torah point. And that's why this line goes with the exit, that will be Exeter, this is Swindon, this is Holyhead again. Exeter, Egypt, Canaan, Swindon. So we've got Seek. This is the Tetragrammaton. This is YH. That's just phonetically Y and H. When you put it, it equals the Tetragrammaton. This is the divine plan of the map tricks, basically. And I'm the holy head that's downloading it, and for whatever reason, and obviously being able to pass this information on. But you've got seek, and then it's key, E-Y is key, H-E-S. Well, the question is, who's he's? Okay, so, right, just to show you where we're going with this one, right, okay. Right, the cornerstone of Egypt is here, and it's on the cornerstone is on the Cornwall. All you do is you add the ER, and it's the corner of the wall, basically, the corner of the pyramid, which is based in Egypt, or the real Egypt of what was in the Old Testament, and that's the cornerstone. Now, to get to this now, right, let's firstly do this. Okay, right, so from here, you've got, this is Swindon, this is the Ankh, and this is encoded in the Giza pyramids, Cheops, what they call Cheops, Khafre and Menkaure. When you unscrabble, it says Marco keeps Ankh free, Marco keep Ankh frees H. Well, this is the Ankh that I laid down at the beginning anyway, and what this is also a battle bow, because there's more than one thing in there, and this goes off and it hits Lewisham. There's a bit more to it than this, but Lewisham, and it hits the stones in Lewisham that came from Mount Struy in Scotland. It's not a real stone circle apparently, but the stones came from Mount Struy. And what this says is, I am Welsh is true. At the time I thought this was talking about Moses, but, well, I am Welsh is true. Then now you go to the code in the pyramids, Giza Pyramid, AG, and when you unscrabble Giza Pyramid, it says AG is your map ID. Well, we already know that Gymri is a G is your map ID, but the G is Gymri. So it's, well, what I'll do is just put that there, and then you put, I don't know which way round, G-Y-M-R-U. So you've got Gymri. So literally this triangle is over the land of Gymri, because it says I am Welsh is true. Well, number one, Wales is Gymri, so, but he's Mr. Guy. So he's Mr. Guy. Seek, well, it says I am Welsh is true. Well, the G is your map ID, is your Giza pyramid, so that's encoded in there as well. It would be a G, that would be with a Z, that would, but it makes, for what difference it makes. If you type the Teotihuacan or whatever it is, Pyramid of Mexico, it also says, can you type your G to H? Well, I can, because the G4 is in here, and the H is up here, and so on and so forth. Every single bit of this ties together. It is impossible that this just cannot be true. Okay, let me just scrub that a second. Okay, folks, right there, this gets really amazing, well, incredible. Right, the sign that you see here, This is called AWEN in Welsh. This is the Welsh sign for AWEN. And what it represents is this broken pyramid and the disconnection from Yahweh, basically, from the Tetragrammaton. Obviously, I've now reconnected this. And this is where it gets so bizarre. Right, okay, so we've reconnected this pyramid and I've discovered it. And now I know this represents the Pyramid of Giza, which has no capstone. Right, this is the capstone. Okay, the capstone is on the island, effectively, of Holy Head. Because that's, this comes off there, but for argument's sake, it comes off anyway. Oh no, I need to do it better than that. Bear with me. Okay, I'll skip the AWEN bit, but you can see. But right, okay, so we've got this Holy Head, and there's map coordinates in this as well. So it looks more like a blooming devil, but it's not. There's a lighthouse on there as well, and this is the light. This is a face. This is representative of the Holy Head, basically, an angle C. But I'll explain that now. Right, okay. So what you've got coming from there. This is effectively the capstone. Okay, now I've put AWEN back together. AWEN is actually a new. So there's a new capstone. Now, in order to identify the capstone of the capstone of the puzzle, the pyramid, and like I say, this is not Egyptian. These pyramids are not Egyptian. This is a deception. They're Welsh. They are. It's like a colony of Welsh people. I don't know whether or Cornish and Welsh, I think. But either way, so there's a new capstone. So how do I? Well, the simple answer is you've got. Menai straight. Whoop, spell that one. I'm going to leave a gap because it's obviously spelled like that. Okay, well what this says is Nemai straight. This is N-A-M-E-I, name I. Then what you've got is S-T-R-A-I. And then what you do is you use your G and a H, which is your lock and key code, and put that there. So now you have Nemai Strait. This is the island of, this is the island of angle C, which is Angel Yes. You just reverse this last bit and let's change those two. It's Angel Yes. And then the obvious Holy Head. Now this is where it gets incredible because the name of a capstone is a pyramidion. Now we already know that Giza Pyramid is AG, is your map ID, and this says I on your map ID. So the pyramidion, the capstone on the pyramid is, well, again, it all relates back to me, and obviously he says I named you before you were born. Name I straight, angle C, Angel Yes, Holy Head, and the obviously it's Gymru. Also points to Guyana, where it says Anagai, and the four countries there, the brightest stars in the constellation. Surname I, Raw I am a mapper. And if you follow the finger that points from Wales, it's not a very good version of it, but if you follow it along, bounce it off the first place it hits, which is Rossler Island, follow it down and it hits directly on Suriname, the place called Suriname, which is where he surnames me. You know, and that's it says surname I, that's all it is, that says surname I, but this place exists as a country. Couldn't make it up if you tried. Okay folks, just stop you there. Okay, folks, I've got there is more code, but I'm going to keep it for the next video. I think we've seen enough for one day, and this video is, I don't even know how long this has gone. But ultimately, as you can see, this code, and I've got all this information, really, it's just all pieced together in the last, well, since the last video, 8 days. How do I do this? Well, first thing I do is, well, the main thing I do, obviously, is I do this well, at least twice a day. Occasionally it's been once, but on the whole, and going back, I was doing it consistently because obviously I need to come right. This is what you need to do. There is a safe zone. I'm proving. I challenge anyone to say that this is made up, because, well, there's two things. Is either I just became an overnight incredible, massively intelligent genius that can make such a massive code out of nothing, because I don't look at books, or I do it literally from the Atlas, which is the main message. I do it from the Atlas. I do it, and I'm reading it because, and the only reason I can do it and anagram these things is because they're there, and they have to be there. But they're not just there in words; they're there in pictures. I've shown so many pictures, and this is the work of work of genius. This is not the work of somebody like a human being, and it is timeless. You know, he said, I show you things in ancient times, so when they come to happen, you know that I did it, and I am your, well, creator, father. I am your saviour. There is no other. I can't save you. You have to save yourself. All I am is the angel. Well, I'm the angel messenger that's been sent to guide you. I can't explain how or why, because I don't remember anything, but the code is clearly telling me we're beyond, well, there's no way I can't even contest that. I cannot find a way that no matter how hard I try to say this can be chance. It's impossible. There's just so much of it. So this is what you need to do, folks. Stand in the letter Y. It's the Yah's initial. Drop your head down when you're asking for forgiveness. Give glory to him. Thank him. Just ask him to get you to safety, because I've given the code. There's so many codes for this safe zone. There's the prophecy of what is going to happen, and at this point, prophecy is what I've been saying for 2.5 years, really, overall. Although you would only know it from these videos, is basically fast. Well, it's on a collision course with reality. There's no doubt about it. Now, I've shown you numerous examples of where, you know, and this is not me on an ego trip. All I want is a peaceful life, and I want the new world. I don't want people to die, and there's about to be a war that like no other. And then when this is all over, it's going to be, well, if you're in that safe zone, you don't want to be on the wrong side of that wall. I don't normally say it, but I've seen visions of what happens at the end, the final, well, I think, well, yeah, it must be the final act. And I don't talk about the visions. I've had quite a few, but believe me, it is something to behold. And he says when he does it, you'll know that I am God. Well, I hate using that word, but you'll know that I am Yah and the Creator. But you've got to get you've got to get out of that. I'm sorry, Christians, but you've been deceived. The whole thing, they have tricked us. They have lied. They have changed all the Bible, the Old Testament. The only reason I get to cross-reference it is because the code. The only reason they've left what I can find in there is because it's all coded in, and you wouldn't know it's there. And they obviously haven't worked out what's code. But what they've done is they've taken a massive chunk out of it, changed it, chopped it. The Old Testament or the Gold Testament, they've destroyed it really. But Yah knew they were going to do it, and obviously he's encoded. And the whole reason he's encoded it into creation is because there's no arguing that he could have only been the only person that did it, and B, man can't change it. They might find little bits. But they're not, you know, who would have thought it, that the whole of his new works were written in the star constellations, and they've been there long before. The things I'm doing now, that this is pinpointing, have been written there, been written in these constellations long before I was born. And how is that possible that it is now telling me, using my name, and it can only be the one that created everything, that could do it. Absolutely nobody could do it. It's irrefutable evidence that this is, and it's all a plan. And he's done it all in map tricks to prove that Romai's land is the promised land. You know, all these things. I'm not making them fit, and the speed I've done this is impossible for any human being. I am, you know, I take no credit for it, and I had to be redeemed before I could do this, and I went through a lot just to get to the point where this started going. And the longer I go, the stronger the code gets, and it's just getting to the point, it's just irrefutable. There's no way on earth this is chance, people. But all I can say, and I just hope we take heed of this, and I hope we spread this message, because it needs to go viral. I mean, you know, I'm sending it out there because it's the righteous thing to do. There's a 0.1 billion% chance that this is wrong. What have I lost? I can't be crazy, because I'm clearly showing you what's there and how I got it. Well, I'm either, like I say, I'm either the greatest genius of all time, and I'm not. And so it genuinely has to be a message from the Most High in heaven, Yahweh. And I just hope people take notice. Don't need to go to church. In fact, get out of the churches. That is the thing. Masonry, get out of that as well. Masonry, you know, I know that this, well, the time is coming, and there's going to be, well, what's coming is, and I just can't, I don't know when, I don't have dates, but I know it must be close, or I wouldn't have been shown this. But anyway, until next time, people, get your hands up and take care. Yah's blessing.